Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on this video. Today we have 5 spring thriftlet makeovers, and they are so cute. I love how every one of them came out, but especially the cabbage planter. Y'all let me know which one is your favorite, and we're gonna get started right now. Hey friends, let's get started on our first project today. We are going to be breaking into the new spring garden mold, and I'm going to be using this gorgeous cabbage leaf. This probably is my favorite right now. This cabbage piece is just very trending, and man, it just looks so good on a lot of different items. So I have dusted my mold well with cornstarch, and I have warmed up some IOD air dry clay in my hand, and I'm going to start pressing that into the mold and then using my thumbs to scrape off any excess clay before flipping it over and let gravity help the mold or casting fall right out. And this batch was a little wet, the clay was, because I had a baby wipe in there to keep it moist. So I broke out a new thing of clay, and then I started using this long straight edge scraper to flatten out that back just a bit better so I wasn't wasting clay. And this one came out much easier. Look at all that detail. I casted 4 of the cabbage leaves, and I'm going to be putting them on this pot. This does have a crack in it, but it is secure. It's just kind of man, that truck is loud. I'm not starting over. The crack is not going anywhere. It's fine. But I am going to cover it up with my first cabbage leaf. So I have applied some Titebond Quick and Thick to the back of the cabbage, and I'm just going to gently press that into place, making sure the bottom is flush so nothing messes up. Then I applied my second cabbage to the opposite side, and now I'm coming in with my third casting and meeting them up and just pressing well to make sure it has good contact. Then I'll put the 4th leaf on the opposite side of this. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the glue so we don't have to worry about that later. And then I let it sit for about 20 minutes. I have decided I'm going to paint this while the casting and clay is still pretty much fresh. It does have a slight crust over it, but you need to be very gentle here when you're painting. I'm going to use this gorgeous green color by Dixie Belle. I think, oh my God, this color was perfect for this project. And I'm going to do just this first coat to start off with. I decided to paint my clay wet to help with shrinking and cracking, but we did get a little bit either way. Right here, I let it dry overnight, and as you can see, there is some cracking and some areas that need a second coat, but that's no problem because I needed to do a second coat either way. So I'm just going to make sure I shove a little extra paint in those areas and kind of fill up that crack a bit. I'm not going to be painting the inside of the pot, but I will touch up this bottom area. Once my 2 coats were good and dry, I'm going to take this lighter green autumn sage. I already used this color on another project, so I had some already loaded on a paintbrush. And I'm going to do some dry brushing over the exterior and the bottom of this pot to really highlight the details in the cabbage leaf. I am going to go all over every area, even where the castings are not at, and just do a light dusting here, and then I'm going to let that dry. Next, I'm going to come in with the 2-component classic crackle by PentArt, and really the only reason I'm coming in to use this is because I wanted this to look like a true glazed pottery piece. And when you use this crackle medium, either this one and the fine line crackle, you get a glossy appearance, a glossy finish. If I had a gloss top coat in my stash, I would have just used it, but I didn't. I'm out. So I went in with component 1, let it fully dry, and then now I'm coming in with component 2 The benefit of this is we are going to get some gorgeous crackle, so we might as well emphasize that with some of the antiquing paste. This is also by Pent Art. I'm going to use a small little artist brush to work it into all that classic crackle and then buff off any excess paste. And it's hard to see it here since we are working on a kind of darker color, but it is some gorgeous crazing and crackling. And that's it for this project. If I had to pick a favorite from this video, this will be it. I plan on putting the cabbage leaves on a picture next. I am in love. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the project. I feel like it looks 100% better in person. I paid $1 for the pot, and I'm going to price this for probably $23. Y'all let me know what you think, and if you want this spring garden mold, head over to the website and grab you one. Moving on to our next project. I have this pink purplish bunny rabbit here. Definitely not my vibe. It's missing something in the center. So let's make this thing more my style. First, I took it outside and gave it a coat of matte clear coat just to prime the area so our Fusion all-in-one paint sticks and I don't have to worry about it scratching off. And then I went in with this lamp white all-in-one Fusion paint and did 2 good coats. Now I want to add a little bit of charm back to this rabbit. So I'm going to grab out the new Floria Gretcha IOD Spring Transfer Pad. And I'm going to go for some of these smaller florals down here. I cut them out of the book, and now I'm cutting it pretty close to the transfer itself and then making some relief cuts. This is just kind of like a zigzag to help the transfer more sit on the surface you're trying to apply it to. Transferring to a weird surface like this isn't impossible. You just have to work smarter, not harder. I try to work in the center first and then try to go out to the right side. Once I get that down, I'll move to the left side and just gradually work my way up. You might get some wrinkles, but that's fine. We rarely go for perfection over here. So we're just going to smooth that down with our hands to get out any wrinkles and air bubbles. And then we'll move on to the other side and do the exact same thing. Next, I'm going to come in with some of this matte top coat by Sweet Pickins, and I'm going to do a heavy layer, if not a few layers, over the transfer section. I'm not worried about sealing up the whole bunny, just over the transfers. Since I'm going to be coming in with a crackle product next, I do not want my transfers to crack and come off. So once that was dry, I'm going to come in again with the classic crackle. This is 2 components, and we're going to do the exact same thing as we did in our first project. Apply component 1, let it dry, then apply component 2, and then we will bring out that crackle. This time I decided to use Fusion's Aging Wax to bring out the crackle because I just love this aged brown color. So I'm just going to use my little wax brush here to work it into all the small cracks, and then I'll come in with a baby wipe and wipe off any excess because I did not want this to be too dark. Now, a very important step, I am using classic crackle here. If I was using the fine line crackle, you cannot come in with the baby wipe. It does not work well with water. So now let's cover up this missing section. I have this vintage tart tin, or I don't know if it's vintage, it's a tart tin in my stash, and it fit the area perfectly. So I'm going to come in with my best friend, my super glue, and my accelerating spray. And this really grabbed on well, and I really don't think it's going anywhere. I pressed it and held onto it for a second, and then I sprayed it with my accelerating spray, and it's an instant dry. I added a green velvet ribbon around the bunny's neck, and then this is done. I can picture some small candies in here holding a piece of jewelry. You could put a bird's nest with some eggs. So many possibilities for spring. Y'all let me know what you would fill the tart tin with. I think this is a super sweet project. I plan on pricing him for $23. Our next project isn't necessarily a spring project, but I needed something in my booth as like a riser, and I had this in my stash. I paid $3 for this wooden stool at a yard sale, and it is new. It is very new. So I took off the little felt pads. I'm going to unscrew the legs so I can just work on everything easier. And then I'm going to take an 80 grit sandpaper. This is pretty rough. I'm going to sand off that writing on the underneath side and give everything else a really good sand. This wooden stool was sealed. It had this like sealant waxy layer over top of it, so nothing I put on it was going to stick or penetrate. So I need to get all that off. I'm going to work around this area very well to make sure I'm back down to the raw wood on the top and on the legs. Next, my mission here is to make it look old. So I grabbed a screw, just some tools, a paint can opener, my hammer, and I'm going to start beating and banging on this thing. Just making weird impressions that you might see on an old stool. So I just tapped the screw threads into several areas. I used the claw part of my hammer to scratch and ding. I used this little paint can opener to make some little divots in the wood. I used a saw to make some saw marks on every little area, top and bottom. I made sure I do both sides and some on the legs as well. And then I'm going to be breaking out some new to me products. I have never tried Fusion's Antique and Glaze nor their black wax. So first I'm going to come in with the glaze, and I'm going to use it as a stain. I'm going to do every little surface, both sides and the legs, brush it on pretty liberally, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come in with a lint-free shop towel and wipe off any excess glaze. And as you can see, it's darker in the little dings and impressions that we made with our tools, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I let the glaze dry for about an hour, but it's not fully dry before coming in with the black wax, and I just went right over the whole thing with the wax and then buffed any excess off. And I really like how this deepened that glaze color and brought some more age to the piece. And that's it for this flip. I really like the character it has now and the color. Y'all let me know what you think. Would you beat and bang a new thrifted item to make it look aged? I know I will. It was fun to beat and bang on something. I love how it came out. I priced it for $27. Moving on to our next project. Here I have a glass apothecary jar, a little wooden riser candle holder thing. I grabbed out my little bin of eggs that had a bird nest in it, and then here I have some feathers, probably from Walmart or Amazon, and a little piece of greenery. First, I'm going to start by cleaning my glass just to get off any fingerprints. I've already washed it, but it has been sitting in my workshop for a little while. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down with alcohol and the little wooden base as well. When I thrifted this wooden base, I immediately knew in my head or thought this is going to fit in that apothecary jar I have been looking to fill up, and it did perfectly. So I was super excited. I think I paid 49 cents for the little wooden riser and maybe 50 cents for the apothecary jar. Now let's make some eggs for our bird's nest. I have some air dry clay and I'm just rolling it in my hands to create little baby eggs. The eggs I had in my stash were far too big for this nest, so I'm just going to create my own. I made 3, painted them white, even though they were already white. Tell me why I did that. But now I'm coming in with a light robin egg blue color by Fusion. I have watered it down and I'm using a fan brush to create some little speckles on my eggs. I'll dry this side with my heat gun, flip them over, and do the other side as well. Now let's start gluing everything down. I'm going to use some hot glue here on the bottom of my bird's nest. Glue that to my little wooden riser. Next, I have a few different color moss, reindeer moss. I'm going to use this like lighter, brighter green first. Get that glued in, and then I'm going to start gluing in my eggs. And then I'm just going to slowly just kind of drindle the moss over the nest, down the pedestal, just to give it some more character and to make it look like it's overflowing with life. Before placing this into the apothecary jar, I wrapped a piece of greenery around the wooden base just to bring some of that green down to the bottom of the jar. Now I'm going to cut up a feather and place it in a few areas. Putting it in there whole was just a bit too big and not to scale, so I think cutting it up was much better. And then I'm going to add a couple sticks. I have no idea where I got these bag of sticks from, but they come in handy for some projects. And to wrap things up, I'm going to take a piece of this gorgeous green velvet ribbon and tie around the little top of our apothecary lid jar. And then this project is done. I was planning on adding that tag to the left, but I just couldn't get it to look right. And I didn't want to cover up the pretty scene inside. I think this is a super sweet project. I love how it came out. It was a very fast seller. I think I priced it for $17 and it sold the same day I put it in my booth. If I find some more apothecary jars, I think I'll make a few more for this spring season. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this quick and easy project. And here we are, our last project for today. I picked up this 3-tier topiary tree situation from Salvation Army for $2.49. I love the basket base to it, but it's a bit naked. So let's fix this up. I'm going to be using some eggs from my stash to make a egg topiary tree. That word's hard to say sometimes. Some came from Hobby Lobby, some came from Dollar Tree that came in the garland, and honestly, the ones from the Dollar Tree worked a lot better for this project because this egg right here, it came from Hobby Lobby. You cannot cut it in half, and the ones from Dollar Tree, you can. Some eggs I left whole, some eggs I cut in half to give it different dimensions and heights. But I'm going to use hot glue to attach the eggs, really holding it for a minute to let that glue dry. Here is the egg I was able to cut in half, and that worked a lot better in some areas. But I just applied glue to the edges where I seen it was going to touch. And then I would hold it and then kind of reinforce it with some hot glue after it dried along the edges. And they were up there very good. I covered this area with eggs, and then we're about to cover it up. I'm going to be filling in between the eggs with some of this reindeer moss. This is a darker green color. I picked up this bag from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to use some hot glue on that grapevine material and secure the moss just like that, pressing it in. You got to be careful because you can burn yourself through this moss, and it hurts, especially using this hot glue gun because it gets very hot. I just kept on working my way around this section, filling it in, and then I moved on to our next section of the topiary tree. And then we've moved up a section, and we're just going to rinse and repeat 2 more times on this section and then the one above it. And then lastly, just to freshen that moss up on the bottom, I'm going to apply some hot glue and then some Spanish moss to cover that up and just add some more fluffiness down there. And that's it really for this project. I feel like I could have done better on this piece. Maybe more eggs, maybe some little wispies coming out of the topiary section. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not in love with it. Y'all let me know what you think. I still took it to my booth and I priced it for $27. We'll see if it sells. And that is all I have for you today, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed these spring thrift lips. Y'all let me know which project was your favorite down in the comments. And if you got any inspiration from today's video, hit the like button and consider subscribing if you have not already. I want to take a second to welcome our new channel members. I really need the new members to email me. You can find my email address down in the description box. Thank y'all for spending your time with me today. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.